Hi, I'm Kusha, and I'm the creator of the BFR bands. In this video, I want to show you not only how to get started with your BFR bands, but I also want to cover some quick misconceptions and some common mistakes that I've seen. So first, I'm going to show you the common Pro BFR bands. This is what most of you have. And what you'll notice is that all of our BFR bands, for the most part, have the same type of buckle mechanism. So I'm using this as an example, but this really applies to our elite bands and our classic bands as well, depending on what you have. And what I'm showing is how to strap it up. So in case you didn't already have it looped and you're wondering, a lot of people ask, how do I loop this? How do I strap it? Here are a couple different ways you can do it. So the primary way that it's really designed for is to take this and put it through behind the buckle. So you go directly behind there and it just goes through like that, and that's it. That's pretty much all there is to it. Goes through, you can slide it on your arm, and all you do, usually what I do is I'll hold this with one hand and then I'll use my other hand just to kind of hold the buckle in place so I can kind of get it into a good position, and then tighten it as needed, and then close it. And that's it. You could let the slack hang. You could use the slack to double wrap if you wanted to and get it a little bit tighter and then just tuck it underneath. So there's a few different things you can do there. But the key thing that you'll find is that this type of pressure, my arms are about 14, 15 inches or so. I'm an average guy. If your arms are more or less than that, this without using the slack to double wrap, just leaving it as it is now, the way I've tightened it here, should produce enough pressure. And one of the key points I want to make is that you do not want to over tighten. There's a few ways to check if you have good pressure. The first way is qualitatively. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being tightest, you want this to feel about a 5 to a 7. And I almost actually err on the side of more of a 5, on the lighter side, because what a lot of people don't realize is that without an adequate warm-up, you're not going to have an optimal occlusion for the workout itself. So you want to make sure that really you put this thing probably at a 5 or a 6 really, and then after you do a good warm-up, and I'll talk about kind of how to set up your warm-up and your workout to be optimal. After your warm-up, you're going to get a pump and you're going to increase the pressure. So if you start at a 7, you'll probably end up at a 9 or a 10 halfway through your workout. So that's something to really keep in mind. Sometimes people tell me, hey, I'm having some issues achieving optimal pressure. Is this not getting tight enough? I can assure you that this strap is designed to produce enough pressure. And 99.9% of the time when someone tells me that, they're not training the right way. They're probably not using enough weight, although that's usually not the problem. Light to moderate amount of weight will usually be enough. But usually what I find is they're not doing enough sets, reps, or their rest periods are too long. So the standard protocol that I've kind of outlined in our book is to do 4 sets. First set, you do about 30 repetitions. So for example, if we're talking about bicep curls, if you normally do sets of 10 with 50-pound dumbbells, maybe you're using 15s or 20s, and you're doing a set of 30 reps, and you're doing it, you really want to focus on the concentric, the lifting phase. With traditional weight training, a lot of the good muscle damage really happens in the eccentric phase for the most part. But with BFR training, you really want to focus on the opposite lifting portion, on that slow concentric phase. So you want to make sure you go slow. So that's another variable to be aware of, is the phases of motion. If you're not getting enough of a good pump, make sure to do a 3-second concentric, maybe do a 1 to 3 second isometric hold, and then 3-second eccentric. That extra time under tension will do a number for your pump and for your workout and your results. So think about increasing that time under tension, do more reps, try to do at least 30 reps. The goal is to train to what's called volitional fatigue. That's what the research talks about. It says training to volitional fatigue is necessary. And volitional fatigue is a fancy term for basically training till you can't do any more good reps. So you do as many good reps as you can do until you can't really maintain good form anymore. So do as many as you can do. Might be 30, it might be more, it might be less. And then rest for only 20 seconds or less. A lot of people, I think, probably rest a little bit too long, and therefore they don't really get the full benefit or the maximum pump that they could be getting. So short rest period, repeat, and the second, third, and fourth sets in our standard protocol is 15, 15, 15. So as I outlined in our standard protocol, again, it's first set 30 reps, second set 15, third set 15, fourth set 15, each with about 20 seconds of rest in between each. That's just the standard place to start. Obviously everyone's different. Some people are going to need less, some people are going to need more. So again, if you're having trouble kind of reaching the results or the pump or what you're looking for, try increasing the number of sets. Try doing 5, 6, 7, 8 sets. Even upwards of 10 sets if you need to of a certain exercise. Try increasing the repetitions if you need to, and then also try increasing the time under tension. Go slow on the concentric lifting phase. Get a nice long, slow isometric hold, and a long, slow lowering negative eccentric phase, and that will do a ton for your results. And another big misconception that people have too is that occlusion training is somehow maybe bad for you, or that it would be counterproductive. And if you're getting into occlusion training, you might not be one of those people, because obviously, you're getting ready to do this, you're getting ready to use it. But if you're one of those people out there, or if if you have a friend or somebody who's a naysayer, they don't understand why you're doing this. One of the main things I like to point out is that anyone who does weight training is actually occlusion training. You're always internally occluding anytime you get a pump. When you start getting that muscle pump, you're creating internal occlusion. You're creating internal pressure. So you're always doing occlusion training. And the main reason really that I wanted to point that out is, again, it goes back to don't over tighten in the beginning. Because again, if you over tighten halfway through the workout, you're going to be creating more and more internal occlusion, more and more internal pressure, that it's going to throw off the pressure of the strap, and you should probably have to loosen it throughout the workout. So the first thing I talked about in the beginning was, how do you know if you have the right pressure? We said on a scale of 1 to 10, should be about a 5 to a 7. Another thing that you could check throughout the whole workout is checking how fast does the color from your hand refill. So if I press my thumb into the palm of the hand, you'll notice the blood is being pushed away, and it takes a few seconds for the color to come back. And the optimal pressure should happen when it takes about 2 seconds or so for the color to come back. If it takes more than that, if it takes more than 3 seconds, then it's probably too tight. And also, if you feel numbness, tingling, pain, anything like that, any adverse effects like that, then it's clearly too tight. You need to remove the bands. But I think that this is something you should be checking throughout the workout. Again, for the reasons I just mentioned, because you're creating more pressure throughout the workout, that the pressure is usually never going to be static. It's never going to just be, hey, I'll just tighten it to this level in the beginning of the workout, set it and forget it. It's not really going to work like that, because as you're working out, you're most likely going to have to adjust it. Another thing people ask me is, do I take this off in between every set? Do I take it off after every exercise? You don't necessarily have to do that. I know people who do that. Some people, they won't necessarily take it off in between sets, but they'll take it off in between exercises. That's totally fine. You can actually keep it on for the duration of the workout. The key is to keep the duration of the workout short. You want it to be about 15 to 20 minutes. You don't really want it to be too long. But again, you can keep it on for that duration of that workout. And again, the goal is to keep the weight very light. You're supposed to use 20% of your 1 rep max or less. So that's talking about lightweight. Again, when I gave the example of the bicep curl, if we're talking about 50-pound dumbbells that you normally do sets of 10 reps with, then you're going to be using like 15s or 20s, or sometimes less, depending on how fatigued you get. You might be using even less weight. So don't go heavy. It's not about egos. When you're doing this type of training, you want to make sure you're doing it right, getting the maximum benefit. And if you're trying to go heavy, it's really going to be counterproductive, because you won't be able to do enough reps to get the benefit of it. So again, it's about high volume. And really, the last thing I wanted to mention again is that you want to make sure that when you are tightening this, that you are wearing it over clothing. You don't want to pinch the skin. And you can wear this under clothing, obviously. So if you're wearing a cutoff shirt or a sleeveless shirt and you're wearing it directly on the skin, you can avoid any kind of pinching by just tightening slowly. If you tighten too quickly, it can grab the skin. The buckle might grab it, so something to be aware of. Another thing I want to mention is that I have seen some people loop this a little bit differently. This is acceptable too. It wasn't necessarily designed for this, but you can actually loop it first through this other slat on the bottom here, and then loop it through the buckle, and that just helps keep a little bit more pressure as well if you wanted to. So you can kind of see here, it's kind of looped through the bottom and then looped through the buckle. Same idea though. It just helps, for some people I think they like it because it helps kind of keep the pressure a little bit more, a little bit less likely for the band to lose pressure. But the buckle is strong, so that even if you don't do it that way, it is going to maintain pressure. It's not going to slip, unless you are again over tightening far beyond what you should be, then it may. But again, The goal is not to over tighten like we talked about. And the other one I want to talk about is our elite bands, slightly different design, same exact concept. These are a lot longer. So the main thing I want to talk about these is that, again, some people get confused about why are these so long, you know, who did you design these for? They're not designed for huge arms. These were actually designed specifically to be 40 inches long because this type of material is thinner than the other material, that it requires double and triple wrapping. So you'll notice here that because of this length, same exact concept. Again, it's going through the buckle the same way as the other one. I tighten it. We have, as you'll notice here, we have a marking system, a number system for you to be able to know what tightness you're at from side to side. So you'll know, okay, I'm on a 5 on this side, so I got to tighten to 5 on the other side. Helps you maintain symmetry a lot easier. It's a feature that we added there. And then you close it, and then with the slack, you actually want to use this slack. With the other one, you don't necessarily have to, like I talked about, but with this one, you definitely want to use that slack. And you can actually pull, use the elasticity to pull, make it even a little bit tighter if you need to, and wrap around it 2 or 3 times in this case. I wrapped it around about 3 times in this case, and then you can just tuck it. So really easy. I just tucked it through, simple, and then you should have optimal pressure. I feel actually a little bit tighter even than with the Pro Bands with how this is right now. A big common mistake I see people make is that they try to achieve optimal pressure in the first pull. So before they've even closed the buckle, they pull and pull and pull and pull, and they get this thing to, you know, instead of a 5, which is where they probably should be, they pull it to like a 1. And then what happens is, not only do you have all this excess slack that if you do tie it, that you're gonna have probably too much pressure, but also you're probably going to, you know, reduce the life of your strap. This type of elastic, if you pull it that tight, you have teeth on this buckle. The teeth are gonna dig in and pull on this material, and it can create snags and mess up your strap if you're tightening it like that. Whereas if I tighten it to a more comfortable level, like a 5, and again, this is a little bit different than the Pro Bands. Pro Bands I can tighten a little bit tighter on that first pull because I'm just gonna close it and I don't necessarily have to double wrap it. This is designed to be double or triple wrap. So I'm gonna pull this to probably more so, on a scale of 1 to 10, probably more so a 5, maybe even slightly less. So it's, the other one's more of like a 5, 6, or 7. This one's more on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm pulling it on that first pull before I close the buckle, more on like a level 5. And then I use the slack to double or triple wrap it. And then that's gonna help me achieve that level 7, more so level 6, because like we talked about the warm up and the workout, it's gonna help me get to like a level 7. So after that first pull, maybe it's a level 5. After I double wrap it, now it's like a level 6. So that when I do that warm up and workout, it's going to be like a level 7. One of the other things I wanted to mention, I talked a little bit about the workout protocol. Warm up protocol should be similar. Warm up protocol could be almost Tabata style, where you're doing 4 minutes, where you're doing 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off of an exercise, maybe bicep curls, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. That's one protocol. Another protocol might be doing 2 things back to back, maybe contrast training, where I'm doing bicep curls to tricep pushdowns back to back, and I'll do it continuously for about 4 rounds, 4 minutes, maybe 30 seconds each. So the key is get a good 4 or 5 minute warm up. Again, keep the rest periods short, get a good time under tension. That's kind of the main idea. So you're doing a lot of reps, a lot of time under tension, about 4 to 5 minutes in duration, and again, you're just trying to increase that muscle pump. And I guarantee, if you have this thing at about a level 5, if you're doing the appropriate warm up with light weight and that high volume like I talked about, you should be at like a level 7 at least by the time your warm up is done. So that's really all there is to it. When it comes to the bands, again, a lot of people have asked me, how do I strap this up? That was kind of the main reason why I wanted to make this video, is to just show you how to get the strap started. But again, I also wanted to cover a lot of those misconceptions and common mistakes that I've seen. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me directly at info@bfrbands.com. I'm always happy to support you. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.